My name is Tommy Frank. I'm the Executive Director here at the Lake Wales Arts Council. Over the last 50 plus years, we've had an incredible number of people who have contributed their time, talents, and energy into making the Arts Council what it is. With our Legacy Voices video series, we wanted to be able to capture them on film so that we can have this great record of how they have passionately added to the content and the character of the Arts Council in the time that we have had them here with us.
I came to Lake Wales, my family moved to Lake Wales in 1952, and one of my very first memories was this church because it was up on a hill and it was beautiful. And I was getting ready to start studying for my first Holy Communion. And so walking into this church was a dramatic aha for me. Or it wasn't an aha, but it was a wonderful feeling. The beauty of this church originally was magnificent, and I really hope that people will get some of the history of that. It kept improving, and it was very different than you see it today. One of the things that was improved a lot was the windows. When I was growing up, the windows were jalousie windows. They were not unattractive, but they certainly weren't the windows that we have now. Somehow or other, the windows had been closed. They were jalousie and they were closed, and the handle was gone. Someone had taken the handle, and apparently no one knew to get a pair of pliers and open the windows. So we knew what hell was like during the summer at that church. But we survived, and the church grew by leaps and bounds. Some of the beauty of the church was lost by taking some of those things away, but it also modernized the church and made it so that I believe it was 1988, Fran Updike started a mission of buying the church of the Arts Council, buying the church and turning it into the Arts Council. It was a brilliant, brilliant thought on her part, and she carried it through just as brilliantly. A lot of things by then had been changed. So, for instance, the windows had been replaced with the stained glass windows. But as you probably would see in the history, the stained glass windows were difficult to work with because they were not done well at the beginning. Fast forward to 2008, maybe, and Polk State College, when they did the renovation, opened every window and returned the stones to where they were supposed to be and had them sealed. That was a huge, huge blessing for the Arts Council. But my first thought was, I think it would be good for people to know how beautiful the church used to be. Not to say it's not still beautiful, but very different. I attended the church until I went to college in 1964. In 1962, my sister was married here, and so one of my favorite pictures of the church was when she got married, and the angel statues were still well above the altar, and it was beautifully appointed. I continued to go to church here until 64, and then I continued on that path for many years, but not in Lake Wales, so I was not a member of Holy Spirit. I saw the renovations as they went along, the slow renovations as they went along. And in 1962, we got air conditioning, which helped with the windows. I returned to Lake Wales in 1993, having been gone since 1964. I became very involved with Lake Wales Main Street, which is part of the thrill that I get from the fact that Main Street is now so closely attached to the Arts Council. I came back and became part of Main Street, and then the Chamber of Commerce, and then the Arts Council. I was asked to sit on the board at the Arts Council, which thrilled me. I was a city girl, I'd lived in cities all my adult life, and being asked to be part of the Arts Council was amazing to me. It was a huge group. I believe there were probably 20 members of it, and very, very involved. And the movers and the shakers of Lake Wales were part of that group. It gave me an introduction to a lot of people, as it has for a lot of people. In my initial part of my relationship with the Arts Council, the concert series, the Fine Arts Concert Series, was just outstanding. I remember coming to a concert that was the Waverly Consort, which was a group that performed music from, goodness gracious, maybe the 1600s. And they were so impressed with the setup here. They were so impressed with the layout and most of all with the sound. They couldn't believe how good they sounded here. And they had the old kinds of instruments. They had replicas of very, very old instruments. The entire concert was in Latin, and we did not know what they were singing. We walked out of here, and I remember saying to the person I was with, that was a sacrament. The sound, just the sound and the beauty of the whole event was just wonderful. And the Arts Council was very involved with that type of diverse programming, which was wonderful. The other thing that I got very involved with was what everybody in Lake Wales seemed to be involved with, which was the Lake Wales Art Show. I remember my mother telling me that in 1952, when she and a group of women from AAUW started AAUW, they soon became very involved in the arts. And a group of members of AAUW started the art show, which was downtown. And I have seen no pictures of this in any of the histories I've seen, but Mom said that the paintings and the artworks were initially propped up against the sides of the buildings. They were not put on easels. They were not done professionally. And yet the community was out to see and, I think, to buy. It was an exciting change in Lake Wales because Lake Wales has always had an interesting economic span. We've expanded from, we go from the bulk of the people in Lake Wales are in the lower income range, but the members of Lake Wales who cared about the community really put everything into it. And by that I mean their money and even more so their time. The people involved in it during that period, during that initial period, were so involved and so committed, and it was inspirational to me to become involved with that group at an early time of my new residence in Lake Wales. I came to work at the Arts Council in 2001, and I was working for Bill Dickinson, who was a really well-known professional person in fundraising, marketing, and especially the arts. I had done that in other functions that were not called marketing, but it was truly an experience to get here and to learn what professional marketing was all about. Part of the reason that I say that is that I wanted to bring up at some point how different marketing is today and how impressed I am to look back at what was going on in 2002 versus what is going on in 2025. The difference is, I couldn't say it's bigger than black and white is the difference. And it took me a while to figure out and to become comfortable with the new form of marketing. But it's so exciting for me to see, because some of the things that I would have wanted to have conveyed to people in 2002 and to 2006 was the beauty of some of the things, which is now available on social media and was not available, of course, at that time. When I did marketing for the Arts Council, it was through press releases and interviews and one-on-one things, but it was also conveyed to the person on one-on-one. And now we have a far more public way of associating with people. And I find it to be very exciting. Some of it being that when I see pictures from the art show or pictures here when we're having an exhibit, it's exciting to see how the art really looks. It's not a color picture in the newspaper, or even worse, a black and white picture in the newspaper. And it's revolutionary. And I'm really, really proud of the Lake Wales Arts Council at this time. One of the things that I learned from Bill was the value of personal relationships, the value of community. And part of that was to learn who could help you financially. And we desperately needed that help financially. We were carrying a very large load of debt and of responsibility, and we really needed to be able to act. Sometime during that period prior to my coming, the Michael Cruz Gallery was suggested and put through. I shouldn't say put through, I should say accomplished by the people who were running the Arts Council. It was an impressive addition, one that I don't think anybody who was not involved with the Arts Council could even believe was undertaken. This was a really old building to start renovating and adding to. I learned that the Arts Council has a number of incredibly important patrons, people who give to the Arts Council every single year. As an aside, one of the things Bill taught me was the value of the mailing list. And I learned that the mailing list needs to be kept up to date. And he did an interesting thing every time we had a large mailing. We had members of the community come in and work around the long table and pass around the envelopes where we were sending letters to our members. If we found an envelope that had both husband and wife and one had passed away, we had to ask Bill what to do. And he said, they haven't been dead for very long. We will still solicit the family, which I found to be interesting and turned out to be quite productive. I said, are we soliciting dead people? But we weren't. But people cared so much about the Arts Center, the Arts Council, that they did that. The other thing was if there was a change in the family relationship, meaning if the couple were divorced, we could not send to Mr. and Mrs. That's something that I have found that groups do not do now. My university, where I went to college, is still sending things to my married name and to my first husband's name, who passed away probably 10 years ago. So it was an interesting thing to do. But some of our patrons were so amazing and so continuous. They were with us every step of the way. One that I wanted to mention in particular was Mary Kane, and I'm sure you'll hear more about Mary Kane as the days go on. But I did not know her well personally when she was such a donor to the Arts Council. I came to know her much better later and found her personality in keeping with how much she supported the Arts Council. If my memory serves, she was the major donor for this part of the renovation for the Michael Cruz Gallery. And one of the things that I think was wonderful that we did for her was when Bill and I considered how to thank her for having made that donation, he said, well, should we have a plaque engraved or maybe a statuette or something? And I said, her husband had been quite famous and very well-to-do, and I said, surely she's got plaques and statuettes that she's thrown away. I said, I think she loves orchids. And so we found 2 orchid judges in Lake Wales, and they were able, it took about 1.5 years or 2 years, and we had the International Orchid Society name an orchid, the Mary Kane orchid. And she was thrilled. But it was that kind of personal attention that I feel you still have today at the Arts Council that is making us the continued success that we are becoming, always becoming. One of the things I'd like to cover is how the Arts Council has changed since 2020. And we all know that 2020 was when we had the pandemic. And it was a life-changing experience for everyone in the world. And certainly a life-changing experience for us as well. The Arts Council dimmed at that point, as did almost everything. It was difficult to keep restaurants alive, let alone a nonprofit organization like the Arts Council. But I'm proud to say that we did stand the weather of time and have come back a totally different organization. I do think it had something to do with a reset that had to do with the pandemic. I'm not quite sure I even understand what the reset did, except the personalities of the Arts Council changed and slowly evolved into a very healthy, productive, exciting position that we're in today. I am proud to say, welcome everyone to the Arts Council. And our classes are showing that. The classes that we have and the diversity in the classes and the participation of the children and the music that we have around the community is just exciting. And I think it's a new era for the Arts Council. That's what's the most exciting part of all. We turned something that was near impossible to continue into something very vibrant and something very different, but very in keeping with our history. That's the thing I'm most proud of.